What's going on, everybody? It's Hallé with Witness the Light Music, and today I'm just going to be going over some techniques using Steven Slate's Trigger2. It's a drum trigger plugin, and I would strongly recommend that if you are in the mixing game and that you're trying to punch out mixes for clients at high quality, high caliber, I think you should definitely get into some sort of trigger plugin in order to get the sounds that you're looking for, get the punch that you're looking for, because sometimes the instrumentals that come your way will not have the elements that you want. It's all depending on the style of production and even the producer themselves. So today I'm going to run you guys through two ideas on how to make your drums hit, especially if you're just provided with a single drum loop. Okay, let's get into this here. So first of all, I got my reference AB, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to play for you the instrumental that was provided to me by the client. This is the instrumental mix from the producer. Let's check it out. All right. So now you kind of have a vibe for what it is. So I'm going to show you the reference when the artist took the instrumental, recorded his vocals on it, and now has a reference for me to go by. Here we go.
Yeah, I remember growing up, we just took God as a given. Nowadays it's a lot more work just to get them to listen. Consider Acts 2 with me for just a minute now. Try to picture the message Peter delivered. Every one of you.
Okay, so you kind of get a vibe for what's happening here. The instrumental itself doesn't really have any sort of driving kick drum or snare. It has just kind of like a drum loop in the back, sitting in the background, kind of giving it a rhythm, but not really driving any sort of punch when it comes to the kick or when it comes to the snare. I liked it, but I also felt that I wanted a little bit more to match with the emotion of the music, because it seems like a very emotional, sad kind of song that's being played. So let's listen to my mix of it right now, and then I'm going to show you what I did to the drums using Steven Slate's Trigger.
Yeah, I remember growing up, we just took God as a given. Nowadays it's a lot more work. To what? Just to get them to listen.
All right, so I muted the vocals because I just want to focus on the drums for this video. If you look here, right in the middle, in between my reference AB and trigger, I have the drum track. I'm going to kind of zoom in a little bit more for you guys. Now, what I did was, this is my drum track here with some of my processing. So keep in mind, this is going through my drum processing and routing. I'll save that for another video. That's not what I want to show you guys at this moment, but check it out. All right, so that is, I'm just gonna put this out of the way. So that is our loop, our drum loop. I'm just gonna make it a tiny bit smaller. All right, so I'm just gonna take off the tape machine from UAD. Gives it a nice low end, nice rubbery low end, and then my EQ. I'm just gonna take those off just to see what we have. And I'll add the oxide back in. So this little dip in the 1.5 K region is to get rid of the kind of the ringing frequency in that snare loop. But this is literally what I had, right? This is what they gave me. There was nothing special about this drum loop at all. I had to make it special. I had to make sure that it was going to hit, you know. Didn't want it to kind of be sleepy or in the background. I wanted to make it hit. So again, this is what was So that's literally what I got, right? Then I went and I duplicated this exact track in Pro Tools. So I went right click, duplicate, and then it gives me this option here of data to duplicate. I kept them all checked because I do want the active playlist. I want what's in the actual track. And I also, I don't really care about the alternative playlists because I don't have anything in there. If I have automation on drums, I want to keep that. The inserts, the sends, and the group assignments, all important for me to have for this track. So I'm going to cancel that because I already made it. So I did that twice, actually. So I duplicated it twice. Again, duplicate. And if I was going to do it twice, I would have jumped in here, type 2. Oh, that's 21. I don't want to do that. Type 2, and we got number duplicates. So from there, then what I did was I created a filtered EQ to help me control what I wanted to control. So I'll show you what that sounds like here, just that specifically. So what I did was I grabbed this EQ, I dragged it down here, and I pretty much filtered anything from the top end. All right, so by filtering it, what I'm doing is I'm ensuring that what I'm going to be doing by adding another kick to this loop was I'm only going to be using the frequencies from the kick in order to trigger my trigger. So open up trigger up here. Perfect. Now trigger is very simple to use, actually, and I don't think I've even gone into the depth of using all of these sample banks here or sample tracks, but definitely very simple to use and even easier to use if you have good samples. I got pretty lucky. I was able to find some samples from, I don't even remember what this one's from, actually, so I'm not even going to get into that. But what I did find was a really good kick. Now this is the kick that I found actually worked well. Right? Okay. So now just triggering the kick does actually get me in the yellow, get me in the red zone here. But when it's being triggered with a sample, it actually doesn't do that. So let me run that through you guys here so you guys can hear. So that's just the sample that I chose. Now, you can see here that in one of my sends slots, I have a parallel kick channel that's going up to my parallel, kind of a parallel idea that allows me to send fully this audio from the kick into another channel, or I treat it with some EQ, some pretty hard compression, and then some transient to give me a snap. So let me mute the parallel. So not too overbearing, but it's there. You can see it. You can hear it. Now, the top end was what I was looking for as well with this parallel. So let me unmute it. Giving me a little bit more snap on the top end of that kick. I could have gone for a little bit more, but I felt that if I started going a little bit more, I would have started overbearing the kick, and I didn't want that. I just wanted to give it something to give it some support. All right, so as you can tell, the kick was pretty easy to deal with, but I had to also to add some more life and flavor to this drum loop. I also needed to do that exact same thing with the snare. So I'll show you guys what the EQ looks like for the snare. I literally don't need this. And all I wanted to do was to make sure that this frequency right here, was what was going to trigger, literally. So whatever trigger was receiving audio, whatever audio trigger was receiving was going to be based on what I was allowing to come through using this low end filter. and high end filter. All right. Now let's activate trigger. There we go. So now that full sample is no longer filtered or anything like that. It's just now we're just using the transient data coming from the transient information coming from that from that sample, from that loop, going into trigger, and it's allowing me to literally trigger 3 different snares, layer in these snares. Check it out. So one of them sounds like this. The other one sounds like this. All right. So all of those put together gave me some, there was my kind of like my bottom end of the snare, a little bit more slap that I wanted, and a little bit more of the click that I was looking for. So all those together gave me this. So I've created my drum snare from the loop that was provided to me by the production. So I'll play with the kick trigger and the kick snare trigger. Sorry, the snare trigger. Okay, so now I bring that in and I layer it. Let me close all these up. Come back into the mix channel. My 3 yellow channels here are my drums. Compared to now, I also, what I did was I sent my snare to a plate. Sorry, I had this one. I have this EQ after my trigger. Before I get into the verb, the plate verb there, I have this EQ that is lifting a little bit of the snap and the sizzle. So more filtering just to control the frequencies that I'm looking for. Now, obviously, keep it in mind that a lot of this is done while you're actually listening to the sample itself, right? All right. So I also went into a plate. Now this plate, I think, is a plate that I'm actually using for vocals as well. Let's see. Yeah, it would be this one here. Let's bring it back. So sending some top snare information to a plate. Now I'll run you through and I'll show you what that's about. I pretty much have a H delay at a 1/32 delay in order to kind of get my pre-delay figured out. I like how this works as a pre-delay, and then also going into a plate that allows me to select the style and plate that I want for this specific vibe that I'm going for. Now I also did send to an H delay. Let's see if I can find it here. Where's my H delay? This one here. Let's bring it down to this plate right next to it. Perfect. Now this H delay is so I don't have it that loud, but I wanted to give it some space. And so if you can also hear that it is I did select the phase on the left side of the H delay to kind of give me a way wider reach and extend of that delay. So check it out. Now I'm going to take off that pre. It's supposed to sit back in the back a little bit more. You can hear it if you really do listen for it. So from that to, let me go back to my adapter here, to this here. This is the original instrumental that was sent to me. So I'm guessing this is the production mix. And then this is how, again, the vocalist on top of it.
Yeah, I remember growing up, we just took God as a given. Nowadays it's a...
So yeah, it's there, the drum loop is there, but again, I wanted to bring the drums to life. Drums to me, since I'm a drummer, I do feel like that's one of the biggest strengths that I have, and one of the things that I can contribute to a mix. And in order to make sure that the client isn't just getting a solid mix, but they're also getting something that not necessarily has changed completely, but is more alive, is more dynamic, has a little bit more flavor and taste, in order to kind of give the sound that you're looking for to the artist. So let's play what I do have here.
Yeah, I remember growing up, we just took God as a given. Nowadays it's a lot more work. To what?
Now,
just to
no
get
trigger.
them to listen. Consider Acts 2 with me for just a minute now. Try to picture the message, Pete.
So there you have it, guys. Again, I'll show you again now with the trigger.
Yeah, I remember growing up, we just took God as a given. Nowadays it's a lot more work. To what? Just to get them to listen.
So there are different ways and techniques that this can be done. I've seen guys take this exact technique and say, for example, they'll grab a Saturn FabFilter and they'll split up the frequencies.
Yeah, I remember growing up, we just took God as a given.
Right? There's different ways of doing this. What I found was the best way was to find the samples myself and make sure that it worked exactly with what I wanted. So there you go, guys. Hopefully you learned something today, and that whatever you're working on next, if you are feeling like your drums need a little bit more life, take this into consideration and do it for the glory of God. I'll catch you guys later.